has made Sean Combs a little bit nervous. Me on that when you say, yeah, he looked like the gay homie. I didn't know what you were talking about. If you know, I wouldn't go to. Do you think this might be too early? Diddy walked into that courtroom calm, collected, ready to face whatever was coming his way. But nothing could prepare him for what happened when 50 Cent's new audio was played. The room went silent as the explosive details in the recording hit the air and Diddy's usual composure gone in an instant. The mogul, usually unshakable, visibly cracked under the pressure. A moment that turned the trial into an absolute spectacle. How did things escalate from casual jabs to this very public breakdown? Sean Diddy Combs walked into the courtroom yesterday wearing a sweater over a white collared shirt and gray slacks. He hugged his attorneys when he got in. The courtroom was tense the moment Sean Diddy Combs walked in. He looked calm, almost too calm, dressed in a sharp suit, sunglasses on, trying to carry the image of a man in control. But if you were paying attention, you could feel it. The quiet unease in the air, the way eyes followed him across the room. Everyone knew something big was coming. And the energy in the courtroom wasn't just stiff, it was suffocating. People were whispering, glancing at their phones, wondering what would happen next. Diddy gave polite nods to his legal team and sat with his back straight, trying to appear untouched by the chaos surrounding his name. But that performance didn't last. Statement is something from you can tell it was written by a lawyer because it's a point where it kind of gets aggressive. He's like, things changed the moment the new audio evidence was introduced. It came straight from 50 Cent's upcoming Netflix documentary, a project that's already stirred massive controversy. As the recording played, the room fell completely silent. You could hear every word clearly. Diddy's voice joking and suggestive in tone, talking about wanting to go shopping with another man, offering to pay, talking about needing to kick it. Comments that sounded harmless on the surface, but in the context of the ongoing allegations suddenly felt layered and revealing. The courtroom wasn't just hearing audio. They were hearing the side of Diddy 50 Cent has been hinting at for years. Various charges against him. The three main ones are racketeering, basically extortion, sex trafficking, and the transportation of people across state lines. Some people gasped, others looked confused or uncomfortable. A few of the reporters sitting in the back began furiously typing into their laptops, knowing this was the moment the headlines would be built around. Even Diddy's own team exchanged glances, clearly not expecting this clip to make its way into evidence. You could feel the shift. The calm broke and all eyes went to Diddy. At first, he just stared forward. No reaction, no blink. But then, as the audio continued, and the judge allowed more context to be played, you saw it. The tension in his jaw, the way his hands gripped the table just a little too hard. Then, out of nowhere, he snapped. He stood up and began shouting. Words were jumbled, angry, defensive. He was pointing, demanding that the audio be dismissed, yelling about how it was taken out of context, how 50 Cent had manipulated the footage to embarrass him. The judge called for order. His attorneys rushed to calm him, but it was too late. His composure was gone. Will you go out to the prison and will you visit him just for funsies? I don't know. You know, look, 'cause you think that right now he can feel like I'm his enemy. Wait, right now? Wait, what? Why would you feel that way? I mean, I'm not his enemy. The federal government is 50 Cent isn't just sitting on the sidelines watching this trial unfold. He's driving it right into the spotlight. His Netflix documentary, which features that now infamous audio of Diddy, wasn't just a random creative project. It was a calculated move. 50 knew exactly what he was doing. The documentary landed at the perfect time, right when the legal heat on Diddy was turning up. And the timing wasn't a coincidence, it was strategy. But I don't have that thing where I like, well, we ain't had no thing. I wasn't sending nothing at him, baby. If it was on the street side like that, we would be actively doing things to each other. As the producer and narrator of the series, 50 Cent made sure the documentary wasn't just about Diddy's career or legacy. It was built to expose. Layer by layer, it unpacked stories that had been whispered about for years. But the biggest blow came with the inclusion of that private audio recorded during what seemed like a casual conversation. In it, Diddy's comments didn't just sound strange. They raised eyebrows in a courtroom full of people already on edge. And that's exactly what 50 wanted. Now, people can say what they want about 50 Cent. He's a master troll, a marketing genius, and one of the most relentless figures in hip-hop when it comes to settling scores. But when it comes to this documentary, there's something more than just petty revenge going on. Sure, the beef between 50 and Diddy has been around for years. Little digs in interviews, cryptic social media posts, and inside jokes about rumors that never went away. But with these latest allegations surrounding Diddy and the legal mess he's in, 50 saw an opening. And instead of just posting memes or throwing shade, he went bigger. He made sure the whole world would hear the side of Diddy most people never get to see. Now fifth, when you continuously call Puff gay, does that affect your relationships in Hollywood? I don't call him gay. I said, let me read. Let me read it. You could call it a personal vendetta, and maybe it partly is. But it also feels like 50 Cent wants to pull back the curtain on something deeper. What he believes has been protected in the industry for too long. He used the documentary as a weapon, yes, but also as a mirror. And whether you like him or not, it's working. The fact that the court even allowed the audio to be used shows just how explosive it really is. The audio evidence presented in court was a game share, a bombshell that left everyone in the room stunned. It wasn't just some casual conversation. It was a raw, unfiltered glimpse into what many had only speculated about for years. As the audio played, it became clear that Diddy's words and actions in the recording weren't just inappropriate, they were downright incriminating. One of the most shocking moments came when Diddy casually talked about taking a man shopping, making remarks that were immediately uncomfortable and completely out of place. "Yo, why don't we go shopping? I'll pay for it," he said, as if this was just a normal interaction. But the way he said it, with no hesitation and no sense of boundaries, made it feel more like an attempt to cross a line. A line that Diddy clearly wasn't worried about crossing. The entire courtroom went silent as this was played. Each person trying to process the weight of what they had just heard. Apologize, saying, "Sorry, Your Honor. I'm a little nervous today." It wasn't just this one comment. The entire exchange painted a picture of someone who was crossing professional boundaries in ways that could easily be seen as predatory. A comment about kicking it, followed by a strange remark about playing with your booty in Miami, raised more than a few eyebrows. These offhand comments made it hard to ignore the patterns of behavior that had been circulating about Diddy for years. Whether or not he meant to say these things is one thing, but the fact that he said them, especially on a recorded call, was another. The courtroom was left buzzing, and it was clear that this wasn't going to go away anytime soon. The content of the audio didn't just raise doubts about Diddy's character. It seemed to support the more serious allegations against him. Over the years, people had hinted at his questionable actions behind closed doors, but this audio gave the public something concrete. It was evidence that connected the dots in a way that no one could deny. The audio also tied into the broader allegations against Diddy, particularly the accusations of his involvement in toxic behavior and manipulation within the music industry. The casual way he spoke to others, the way he disregarded personal boundaries, all tied into the accusations that had been following him for years. It wasn't just hearsay anymore. It was out in the open for everyone to hear, making it much harder for Diddy to maintain his composure or his narrative. When the audio evidence was introduced into the trial, it sent shockwaves through the courtroom. It wasn't just a moment of surprise. It was a game share that completely altered the dynamics of the case. The prosecution now had something concrete, something that directly challenged Diddy's defense. Before the audio, much of the case was based on allegations and rumors. But hearing Diddy's own words, his casual references to inappropriate behavior, shifted everything. It was no longer just he said, she said. It was the proof the prosecution needed to strengthen their argument and show that Diddy's actions were part of a troubling pattern. 8 celebrities, 6 men, and 2 women. How many of those 8 celebrities were close to being underage or potentially underage? 2 males. This new evidence gave the prosecution an unexpected upper hand. They were able to use it to paint a clearer picture of Diddy's behavior, making it harder for the defense to downplay the accusations. The audio wasn't just about one inappropriate comment. It was about a larger context of toxic behavior and manipulation that had been simmering under the surface for years. Suddenly, the prosecution had a powerful tool to show that this wasn't just a personal dispute. It was part of a broader, more concerning pattern of actions that needed to be addressed. It wasn't just about the allegations anymore. It was about what the audio revealed about Diddy's true character. Could be a life sentence. The sex trafficking is 15 years minimum and the transportation of for prostitution purposes is 10 years minimum. So the immediate legal consequences were significant. For one, Diddy's credibility took a major hit. The defense team had to scramble to find a way to explain away the contents of the audio, but no amount of legal jargon could erase the directness and clarity of what had been said. The courtroom was buzzing with disbelief as the audio played, and it was clear that Diddy's position in the trial had weakened dramatically. The defense team's efforts to downplay the audio's importance only made them seem defensive, which likely turned more heads in the prosecution's favor. In response to the audio, Diddy's legal team issued a statement, but it felt more like damage control than a legitimate defense. They tried to downplay the significance of the audio, arguing that it was taken out of context and that Diddy's words didn't reflect his true intentions. But as anyone watching the trial could see, the damage had already been done. The audio didn't leave much room for interpretation. It was a direct, unfiltered look into Diddy's interactions, and it was hard for his team to explain away. When the incident in the courtroom unfolded, the media wasted no time covering it. The courtroom drama quickly became the talk of the town, with headlines splashed across news outlets, blogs, and entertainment websites. The leaked audio with its explosive content was the focal point of many stories. News channels and websites couldn't get enough of it, replaying the shocking moments and analyzing every detail. The courtroom incident became more than just legal drama. It turned into a full-blown spectacle that was impossible for the public to ignore. It wasn't just the content of the audio that had everyone buzzing. It was the fact that such a high-profile figure like Diddy, known for being untouchable, was now publicly facing these serious allegations. There's really no deal that the U.S. Attorney's Office can offer, and there's certainly not one that Diddy will accept. It would involve decades in federal prison. We're talking about mandatory minimum sentences of 10 years for both the drug charges and the sex trafficking. Fans, fellow artists, and public figures had a lot to say about the situation. Reactions were mixed, but many fans were quick to take sides. Some stood firmly behind Diddy, dismissing the audio as nothing more than an attack from his enemies. These fans, loyal to Diddy for years, didn't want to believe that their idol could be involved in anything shady. On the other hand, there were fans who felt betrayed. They saw the leaked audio as confirmation of what they had suspected all along. For them, it wasn't just about the legal case. It was about the disillusionment of seeing a powerful figure like Diddy allegedly involved in such questionable behavior. These fans were vocal on social media, expressing their shock and disappointment. Fellow artists were also weighing in. Some took the opportunity to distance themselves from Diddy, while others showed their support. The music industry is a close-knit community. So, when something like this happens, it's not just about one individual. It affects the entire industry. Some artists, particularly those who had clashed with Diddy in the past, found this moment to be a sort of vindication. Others, especially those who had close personal or professional ties with him, were more cautious in their comments, unsure about the full implications of the situation and how much detail he could go into about his testimony. And because the 8 people in the videos, the 8 celebrities in the videos were allegedly victims of sex crimes, we know who they are, but we will not be naming them. Social media played a huge role in spreading and reacting to the news. Platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok erupted with reactions. Memes, videos, and hot takes flooded the feeds. Users shared their thoughts and opinions, fueling the fire with each post. People from all walks of life had something to say, whether they were trying to decode the audio or making jokes about the situation. In this age of social media, news spreads fast and reactions are amplified. With every new tweet or Instagram story, the drama surrounding Diddy's courtroom outburst continued to grow, making it impossible for anyone to ignore. The media, fueled by social media reactions, continued to cover the story, keeping it at the forefront of public conversation. The feud between Diddy and 50 Cent is one that's been brewing for nearly 2 decades. It all started back in the mid-2000s when 50 Cent first launched a verbal attack on Diddy, making no secret of his disdain for the mogul. At the time, 50 was riding high on the success of his albums, and Diddy, already a well-established figure in the music industry, was one of his biggest targets. Over the years, their rivalry has been punctuated by diss tracks, public insults, and a series of jabs thrown back and forth in interviews and on social media. It's a battle that has spanned across the hip-hop world, with fans and artists alike taking sides, making it one of the most talked-about feuds in the industry. Their animosity first made headlines in 2006 when 50 Cent dropped a diss track, The Bomb, aimed directly at Diddy. This track was a direct hit, exposing the tension between them and setting the stage for years of public back and forth. Since then, 50 has never shied away from taking shots at Diddy, often accusing him of being fake or calling into question his business practices. But Diddy has always maintained a calm and collected demeanor in the face of these attacks, refusing to let 50 get under his skin until now. I don't know. I hope things are all right for him internally. Speaking on I'm in it at the crib. Yeah, because in the statement they mention this. Oh, you talking Jay? The recent courtroom incident triggered by 50 Cent's Netflix documentary and the audio evidence it uncovered marks another significant chapter in their ongoing rivalry. This latest development is no surprise to anyone who's been following their feud, as 50 has made it clear for years that he wasn't done going after Diddy. The documentary, which highlighted some of the more questionable aspects of Diddy's life and career, gave 50 Cent the ammunition he needed to strike a blow to Diddy's carefully curated public image. The leaked audio, particularly the parts where Diddy is allegedly involved in some bizarre and uncomfortable interactions, only added fuel to the fire. For Diddy, this courtroom drama represents the most public and serious challenge to his reputation in a long time. While he's managed to shrug off past jabs and insults, the revelation of the audio in such a high-profile setting is something he couldn't easily brush aside. 50 Cent is playing the long game here, using the power of his platform and his connection to the documentary to strike when Diddy least expected it. And the timing is key with Diddy facing legal issues in a trial. 50 couldn't have asked for a better moment to turn the heat up. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.